Hello everyone, my name is John Michael Bushman and welcome back to Master Duel. We are here, finally, with one of the newer decks that turns an old-ass card, as in this card came out like way back in the beginning of this game that we call YuGiOh, and they built an entire archetype around Mystical Space Typhoon. Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at the new hotness here on Master Duel. Well, it's slightly warm at this point. It's been about what, 3-4 weeks maybe since this deck came into Master Duel, right in the middle of the height of Yummy Mitsurugi and branded Draco Tail, those kinds of decks, and even Vanquish Soul Canine, at the peak of their power. So this deck is nipping at the bud, and or rather nipping at the tail of those three decks, and well, it can compete, but sadly it just doesn't have enough firepower yet. But this deck will become very annoying, or at the very least it will be something that you will need to keep in mind on the rank ladder, and I built it because it's honestly quite fun. It's really good for the brain to play a slower deck every once in a while rather than just wombo combo off the wall. Normally I would be doing a separate deck tech for this, but this deck is pretty well known at this point. It's quite a known entity, basically. I'll just go over some of the ratios. I mean, namely just Noble Knight Shield Bearer. I'm going to have to credit Joshua Smith on this one, because he did say that this deck surprisingly struggles with consistency. And I have had hands where this deck just absolutely bricks like there's no tomorrow. So having something like this, and honestly, I don't know why Noble Knights have this card to search a Wind Beast monster in particular, but this archetype is pretty goddamn large. Well, not as large as Hero, but you guys get the idea. That something like this can get lost in the sauce. Now, in Joshua's build, there was only one of this and 3 of Sheena here. But in the games that I play every time, I hate seeing Sheena in my opening hand if I'm going second, because Sheena only really works if and only if you have a body on board, and that's honestly the biggest criticism I have with this deck. You need to have at least one Radiant Typhoon monster on board in order for you to really do your plays. But if your opponent just stops you from doing your thing, then this deck is, well, gonna struggle to get out of the rut, whatever rut rather that your opponent's gonna put you through. But otherwise, if you do manage to stick one body on board, then you're gonna be off to the races. So this is why I bumped up the Shield Bearer to 2, so that I can have even more ways to get to either Eldam or Swen, but Eldam is definitely the better pick here. And then I bumped Sheena down to 2 copies, because there's 2 of them here in the art. And this thing has actually saved me on occasion, but making it 2 copies definitely feels, at least me personally, it feels a lot better than the 3 copies most builds tend to have. Other than that, yeah, that's the only change, honestly, that I did with the deck. The extra deck is extremely customizable. You can have any number of rank 3 XZs. You can have any number of Wind Link monsters. Some builds even have Simorg in here, but I opted out of it and just ended with Hrasvelgar here. And because the only extra deck monster you will need is the extra deck version of Vavavoom. And other than that, yeah, everything else here is pretty standard for a Radiant Typhoon deck. And yeah, we're gonna see a MST finally negate. Won the die roll at the very least, so I can show you guys what this deck can do. Now, the biggest thing that you need to keep in mind when you're playing this deck is to not be too greedy about your summons, because it's honestly very easy to get lost in the sauce and just keep spamming bodies on board, but you don't really need to do that, especially with this deck in particular. We're going to actually discard the Swen here, because we already have Crosea in hand. We don't really need too much anymore. Then we summon out the Crosea. This should trigger alarm bells. No, it does not. Alright, cool. So we put Crosea on the board, and I probably should have used the Mystical Space Typhoon to pop the vision, and we just got negated. Shit. So this is a bummer and a half, so we'll be forced to use this. And my opponent does not have any monsters to use, so we'll just use Ascendance, and then we'll use the Mystical Space Typhoon here. to pop the Ascendants. And this is honestly a line of play that is very commonly seen between a lot of Radiant Typhoon decks. You basically pop your own quick play spells in order to do your thing. So now we summon Swen there, and sadly Crusea is negated, but it doesn't really matter too much. We can just recover somewhat. So we will chain block because Swen searches, and this is why you need to pop your quick plays so you can chain block in case your opponent has Ash Blossom. But in that case, chain blocking wasn't actually gonna do much because, well, my opponent had Infinite Impermanence, which is pretty good against his deck. So now we move on to the main phase proper. We're going to use the chant. We're gonna add a Radiant Typhoon monster, and honestly, in this case, we're just going to get Megala and be happy with it. We're not gonna do anything else here. We're just going to. Oh wait, that why did that click outside there? There we go. So we'll summon out Vavavoom. We'll get these two out of the way. There we go. We'll put the extra deck version of Vavavoom here. Then we will use her effect to get an MST from the deck. And then we'll summon out Megala. There we go. She doesn't do anything on her own, but she will potentially do something later. So now we're going to put all of those in face down, and we'll just pass turn. So this board doesn't exactly look scary, but trust me, this board is going to do a lot. And we're going to start with Ascendants. We're going to summon Crusea and try again, basically. So we're going to use MST here. We're going to pop the Ascendants. There we go. And then let's okay, well, wait for that to happen. There we go. So Ascendants, we will summon back out Crusea. There we go. And then a couple of triggers, as you can see here. A lot will happen. So we use Crusea as Chainlink 1, then Megala as Chainlink 2. And then we're going to put Vavavoom at Chainlink 3. And then Chainlink 4 is going to be the Ascendants. So yeah, this deck can very easily block stuff like the normal hand traps. The only thing that bypasses all of this is definitely Infinite Impermanence. And honestly, nothing else. Now that I think about it. Or, if they have Forbidden Droplet, then that's also going to help. So now that we have 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon in the graveyard, we can actually just, sit back and relax here. So now we're going to get an MST from the deck, and then we'll get Phonix, because he can very easily summon himself from the hand. We just need somebody to activate a quick play spell, and that's one thing that most people tend to forget with Radiant Typhoon. Some of the monsters have an effect that says if a quick play spell is activated, and that's usually available here on Vavavoom or Phonix here. And take note, it just requires any quick play spell to be activated. Do we negate that? I'm pretty sure we should. And just get rid of the body on board. We have 2 copies of MST in the graveyard, so the negate that Vavavoom provides here, and granted it's only monster negate, but it's going to remove the body on board. Usually Diabell Star is a sign that they're a Wombo combo deck, so we still have a bunch of points of interaction that we can use here. We have it in the Forbidden Droplet. We have, we can even get rid of the Ascendants here. We're gonna use Ash Blossom on that. Yeah, this is literally the experience that you get with Radiant Typhoon. You just stop whatever it is your opponent is trying to do. Although sometimes in some situations you do need to make harder choices, like saving stuff like Forbidden Droplet in order to prevent your shit from being taken. Draw 2 cards, you say? Does this only require, sadly, yeah, it only requires a Mystical Space Typhoon to be activated. So yeah, they'll be able to draw their 2 cards, but we still have at least 1 negate here, and then we have Phonix to do the thing. Yeah, sure. Who will you attack? Crusea. You can also attack Vavavoom. I mean, she's done her job at this point. Yeah, sure. I'm more than happy to let her go. I don't need to increase her attack because it only increases by a mere 300 because of mandate here, and this is the main reason. This is the reason for the season basically that allows MST to negate. Yeah. I guess my opponent did not draw into any more extensions, so they had to surrender there. So yeah, they definitely saw the writing on the wall because I still had Phonics in hand, and then they don't know what the unknown is, but I think it's pretty safe to assume that they know that it's a forbidden droplet, so I can just literally get rid of my whole board and negate all of their monsters. So there is that, and yeah, that's the Radiant Typhoon experience. You just negate your opponent to death and then chip away at their life points until they're dead. Although granted, Mandate does have an effect where it gives attack to a lot of your wind monsters, and take note, it's all wind monsters, so even the non-Radiant Typhoon monsters can get a small boost, but it gets pretty significant if you have a lot of bodies on board. So yeah, keep that in mind as you play this deck. Let's move on to the next duel. On the die roll yet again. So let's see what we got here. And we're both rocking the Lost World field. So good on you, opponent, for having amazing taste. We're going first. So Fua is going to have to take the back seat here. This is honestly a really bad hand. We're going to need to do a lot, and Sven's gonna have to do a lot of heavy lifting basically here. Okay, that went through, so we're going to get Chant. This should give alarm bells to my opponent here. Okay, they did not react to that, so we're going to use Chant. We're going to try to get the Eldam here, and we're gonna pop it just in case, so that we can, get the gravy train rolling basically. Okay, sure. And it also acts as a chain block because, Mystical Space Typhoon happens along that chain. So we get Eldam here, which is the second most important creature in the deck. And now Chant will activate because it was popped by MST. And now they're gonna use Maxi. We can actually very safely play under Maxi. We just need to get to Megala and Vavavoom. But I'm not quite sure how safe it's gonna be here. I think we're gonna make my opponent draw 3 cards more than anything else. We could go for Crosea, but I think at this point we're just gonna have to go for straight for Megala. And then we're just going to let my opponent do everything else here. Okay, so now we go into Vavavoom. There we go. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Yeah, playing under Nibiru is honestly the biggest thing that this deck can very safely do. So Vavavoom activates her effect. We're going to get another copy of MST, and then we'll summon Megala out, and then we'll literally gonna set 3 others and then pass. Yeah, that's this deck's entire shtick. Oh wait, no. We can only set 1 droplet because this thing is only once per turn. So yeah, we're just gonna set 3 and then pass. Yeah, that's all I can do, opponent. Oh no. And then we can just, pitch away the forbidden droplet that we have in hand, in case my opponent does anything funny here. This is work. If a quick play is activated. Alright, cool. This just needs any quick play. So I think we activate this here. There we go. Radiant Typhoon monster. Yeah, we're just gonna add from deck to hand. This is going to be for later. And also to trigger Vavavoom here. And potentially Megala as well. So we're gonna get Eldam. This is just recovery for next turn. Or, as a... I don't think we can pitch Eldam here. We can very safely pitch Fualos because I don't think we'll be having an empty board anytime soon. So there is that. And we also have Forbidden Droplet to negate whatever kind of bullshit my opponent's going to be up to here. Alright, cool. So Luri does its thing. So we're going to put Megala as Chainlink 1 and then Vavavoom as Chainlink 2. Because that's just the way things roll around here. Okay, and again, efficient chain blocking is the biggest advantage that Radiant Typhoon can do over a lot of the meta decks at the moment. So there we go. And then we summon from deck the main deck version of Vavavoom. We're actually gonna put her, at the arrow that her extra deck form points at. And did I mention that Vavavoom is hot? But that's a completely different story. And yeah, you can even choose which form. Like you can choose her cloud form, or you can even choose her I guess this is her typhoon form. So there's that. Sure, we can't exactly. I don't really want to. Actually, no. Can we stop that? But they have like 6 cards in hand. They could already have the boy, but yeah, we're gonna try to nip it at the bud because we still have a forbidden droplet here to stop whatever shenanigans that they're gonna be up to. So yeah, they're not gonna summon from the deck. And what is this? Okay. Facing off against Evil Eye, which is an OTK deck that you don't really see often, but every time I face off against Evil Eye on the rank ladder, they just kick my freaking ass every single time. Okay. Unfortunately, that is honestly not what I should negate. I can negate it later though with Mandate. I'm just gonna go. Oh wait, no, I should have clicked no. But yeah, I think just doing it here, nipping it at the bud, because we have Forbidden Droplets, so we still stand somewhat of a chance. So that we can non-targeting negate any of his monsters. And I think he was looking for a consistency piece there, because he did not exactly fire off any other cards at the moment. So. We're gonna see soon enough if my opponent has any more follow-up, because if there's anything I know about Evil Eye, and I actually used to play the Duel Links version of this deck, and no, I'm not gonna allow that. We're gonna send away the Fualos, and we're gonna Negate. And do I need to do that? Nah, I don't think so. I think at this point the only reason I'm going to activate Mandate is to boost my monsters' attacks until it loops back around to me. So yeah, Cerziel I think is the most recent piece of support, well, quote-unquote recent, and it elevated Evil Eye to become somewhat playable, at least here on Master Duel, but it's sadly not exactly too much of a meta threat, unfortunately. But it is here and there, and it does catch people off guard. So yeah, I think we can potentially die here because Vavavoom is a 0 attack monster. So what I can do here is return some of the quick plays that we have in the graveyard in order to just not die. If there's anything I know about Evil Eye is they can, reach ridiculous numbers in terms of their attack. So we're gonna put some stuff back and give Vavavoom, the main deck Vavavoom here, the Link version, some bit of attack in order to quote-unquote effectively block against whatever it is my Evil Eye opponent's gonna do. They've already special summoned a bunch of their monsters here. And here we go. Basiltris is also a semi-recent piece of support, but again, Evil Eye is you don't need to worry about Evil Eye in the meta at all. They can't exactly compete too well against. Oh, okay, that's a spicy choice. Didn't know Darius had that effect. Detach material. Okay. Wait, how was he able to do that? Target a dark contract. Oh wait, no. Machinex can be XC summoned using literally any DDD monster. So sure. Yeah, sure. Vavavoom has done our job at this point. We don't really need to do too much. Okay, I'm assuming he's gonna go to Zeus, and he's gonna wipe our board here. So hurrah. I don't think it's going to be a problem because we have 3 cards to well, granted he does have like 5 cards, and he still has 2 board wipes. So we're gonna see how far we can get here. It is main phase 2. They didn't OTK us, so there is still a chance. We're gonna see here, and Evil Eye Awakening. Okay, so they're just gonna do a bit of a combo before they pass back to me, and I do know that they can end on a negate these days, rather than just going with big number go up. So I'm just gonna take a sip of water, and we'll be right back when it's my turn. Okay, it is my turn, and we're gonna do something really spicy here. We're gonna use Radiant Typhoon Vision. We're gonna try to draw 2 cards. Oh no. Ooh, okay, that's one way to completely stop me dead in my tracks. Did not realize that they had a counter trap. Okay, sure. But I think at the very least, we activated a quick play. So why is it not activating? I guess we're gonna make that finish first. So there we go. She reduced. I believe she's a negate? Question mark? Nah. So we do this. There we go. Then Eldam does his thing. Do you negate? Do you wipe the board here? No, you do not. All right, cool. I guess we already have Crosea, so we don't need to worry about that. I think what we can do here is we can actually pop the Evil Eye of Selene. And then make them unrespondable because I have Forbidden Droplet here. So we're gonna get MST, and we're gonna summon Crosea, and then hopefully get stuff done from there. And yeah, sure, that is completely fine by me. We're gonna do this now then. So we're gonna MST. We're gonna pop this, and we're gonna turn on that and see if we do something here. All right, cool. Target a special summon monster. Oh no, no. We're gonna throw away the MST. We're gonna throw away the Eldam. I will be the one to remove my own monsters from the board. Thank you very much. Now Droplet is going to completely neuter these two cards here. There we go. And there we go. And then, so she's negated. Mystical Space Typhoon pops the equip spell. There we go. Droll sadly will resolve, but, ooh, I forgot that Vavavoom does that. I guess we get her out. And it's a body that we can use to get into the other Vavavoom. But I don't know if we can even get through this, because 3k defense is quite a lot, unfortunately. And we're under Droll, so we can't exactly do too much. Okay, Basiltrice is going to come out. Okay, I guess that's just it. During your opponent's turn, you can link summon. Oh, great. I think we need to get rid of that thing. And, well, I think at the very least, Vavavoom's effect is still somewhat live. Yeah, we still have 2 copies of MST in the graveyard. So, add a Radiant Typhoon from your deck and or graveyard, you say. Hey! We got around Droll and Blackbird. Okay. What do we do here? We can't add stuff to hand. That much is a certainty. So, what we can do is get MST. That one's always going to happen. And we can actually get... can we get Megala? No, I don't think we can. We're going to get Swen. Has he already activated his effect this turn? He has not. Alright, cool. But we won't be able to search anyways. We just need a body to get rid of the stuff that is on board here. Alright. Now we put Swen. There we go. It's not going to do much, but we're just going to go into combat and get rid of these 2 bodies. So Swen into the Evil Eye here. And then Crosea into the other, into the Basiltrice. Serziel, do you have a graveyard effect? I don't think you do. Alright, cool. Crosea into the Basiltrice. Do you have an effect here, opponent? You may or may not. We shall see. Okay, sure. Now we will move to main phase 2. And then we can't search, unfortunately. Oh wait, no, we can add from graveyard to hand. I completely forgot about that part. We get the extra deck version of Vavavoom. There we go. We'll get the one from Graveyard. It's the last copy, unfortunately. And then we're going to get Mandate. There we go. Now we're going to pop our own MST. There we go. Zeus is not going to be able to do much here anyway because he's under the under Forbidden Droplet, so there is that. And we have main deck Vavavoom as a negate anyway, so we will be fine. Do we have any other quick plays in the graveyard? Not much, unfortunately, so we do need the 2 so that Vavavoom can negate and destroy. So yeah, that'll be it for now. Unfortunately, we only have 1 monster negate, but my opponent doesn't exactly have much. So we'll find out soon enough if this defense is going to be more than enough. He can just swing into Vavavoom, the main deck version, or rather the extra deck version. But I think he doesn't exactly have too much left in the tank. But I'll find out soon enough. We were under Droll, so we couldn't exactly recover too much. But we shall see if my opponent still got it here. This is quite the good-looking field, honestly. I don't think... yeah, this is like a really old dinosaur monster that had a card way back when. That's definitely not Superconductor Tyranno, that much I can tell you. Do we apply an effect? No, I don't think so. Yeah, he can take care of Vavavoom there. That is fine. He can't exactly hit over the main deck version, so that is okay. This may just be the counter trap, so we're going to see. So we're in a freaking stalemate here. I am not quite sure if it will do a lot, so we're just going to set and pass. I mean, if you're willing to wipe away your own board in order to gain advantage, then be my guest. But you know that I have a monster negate here, opponent. So we're going to see. I guess we'll be staring at each other for a while until somebody cracks. Because they only have one back row. I have basically two. I have two negations here, and okay, forcing the issue here. I guess we use Vavavoom's negate to basically get rid of the body, and then ooh, infinite impermanence, you say? Okay then. That is going to wipe my board regardless, unfortunately. So yeah, I think my opponent's got this. We can use mandate here to shuffle stuff back in, but and try to draw into Sheena. So we can do that, or you know, if they're smarter than that, they can just attack with Zeus and you know just be over with. So yeah, we're gonna play to our outs. We're going to shuffle everything in. We're gonna leave one MST behind, and then see if we can draw into Sheena. And then if they activate a monster effect and try to basically secure a victory here. They can do that, but sadly we did not. So yeah, if my opponent's smart, they'll just attack with Zeus and be done with it. But yeah, a surprisingly convincing victory out of my opponent. But I may have made a misplay here and there, but I sadly don't see it. So you guys will just have to tell me in the comments. Let's move on to the next duel. Won the die roll at least. Wait, no, I lost the die roll. God dang it, I wasn't looking. So we lost the die roll and we have absolutely no interaction. So I guess we lost. But then again, that depends on what my opponent's gonna do. Using Porulia, so assuming that we are a Vanquish Soul K9 deck, which summons a lot from hand, but sadly we're not that kind of deck. I have actually had a duel or two where my opponent had a full board, as in, like, they had negates and everything, but I guess my opponent here screwed up their combo somehow. So, do I keep that in? Probably. I'm actually really curious to what their deck is, but seeing that it started off with Fiendsmith, it may just be some combo slop that we sort of expect here on the rank ladder. So, yeah, I'll just do that in my own time, and we'll just move on to the next duel. Lost a die roll yet again, so let's see what kind of board I can make, my opponent rather, can make here. We do have a Forbidden Droplet, and we can just leave behind Eldam in hand and then just throw away whatever 4 cards are going to be left in our hand here. We may just only need to throw away maybe 3 because we're up against what I would assume is Yamitsurugi, or this is probably just pure Yummy. Especially if they use the Sulfachord stuff. Let's see. They have Mignon, so that is something. So let's see what else they do here. Okay, sure. They're going through the normal bread and butter stuff. Nothing too out of the ordinary just yet. Going with Lollipo. So does that mean they have everything in hand already? Or they're probably showing me something that I do not know. So we're not going to cut because this is intriguing to me. My opponent did not have my attention, but now I'm interested in whatever it is you're cooking. Okay, sure. There are probably easier ways to do that, but I guess they were playing around Droll ? But sure. Okay, sure. Cupsy, and then Marshmallow, discarding the Marshmallow. So, okay. So they're just going through maybe 2 to 3 extra steps in order to get to their end board, but there were probably shorter ways and hell, even safer ways to do that, but okay then. If this is how you want to roll, opponent, then so be it. So I'll just see you guys at the start of my turn. Okay, boys and girls, we're at the start of my turn, and I think we can screw my opponent over here massively. We're actually going to start with Forbidden Droplet on the draw phase. We will send the oh right, any monster sent is going to go to banish instead. So I think we can just negate two things here. So we send this and we send this. Then we'll try to negate the two, basically the two obvious points of interaction here. And yeah, forcing the Herald there is fine. So now that he's not on the field, we can sort of pop off. But they do have three back rows, so it is slightly scary. We're gonna find out soon enough what they have here. And okay, sure. They're going to try to get to Cookie to turn our stuff face down. At least we forced the Herald out of the equation, and so now both our graveyards are unlocked. Opponent is going to try to that will not work the way you think it will. What do we discard? I think we just discard Phonics here. Yeah, we discard Phonics or we discard Swen. We don't really need Swen at this point. We can just use Phonics. So yeah, we do that. Okay, so Herald negates the Droplet. That's expected. And then a couple of things are going to trigger here. That's going to happen. And then, because we did activate a quick play spell, so we're gonna do Phonics here. And then we'll try to use MST onto the other stuff. Ooh, that is spicy. Discarding the so this is likely a pure build of Yummy. So I really need to take a better look at that deck, because now that Cupsy here has been limited to 1, it honestly doesn't make so much sense to... Well, it still makes sense to me, but I can definitely see why Mitsurugi is no longer splashed into here because of consistency issues. But we're just going to... I'm still going to rock with it because it still wins me games here and there. It's just a lot more manageable now. Yeah, but I think I'm dead here. They basically outgunned me in terms of interaction. But we're still gonna try. We're gonna pop this, and then we'll just... I mean, we can very easily commit Sudoku here, and then... ooh, okay. You're gonna... Nah, yeah. They're just going to set some bodies and then attack me for game. Yummy can very easily OTK you. So, yeah, we handily lost that one because we sadly did not open any hand traps. I tried to bait out their interaction to the best of my ability. I probably should have led with my Radiant Typhoon stuff instead, but sadly, no, that was not in the cards. We can still try, but I highly doubt we'll be able to punch through here. So, yeah. Either we move on to the next duel, or... yeah, that's definitely going to seal the deal. Yeah, we're definitely going to move on to the next duel after that one. So we're here at my opponent's deck, and God, I am envious of you, opponent. I have been trying to pull for this alt art of Aipu Mascarena ever since her basically banner came up, but I can't get it for the life of me. But yeah, this is rocking... What the fuck? Time Maiden? Really? Wait, what does this do that counts as 2 tributes? Special summon a Time Lord. You don't exactly have a Time Lord, so why is this in the deck? Oh, it's just a free special summon. That is insane. Baller tech. Holy shit. I might actually consider this. Oh my god. Ooh, that is... I did not think of that. It's just the first line of text. And it's a fairy as well. So you can pitch it to Herald of Orange Light. Oh my god. Ooh, that is spicy. Ooh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Alright, I am getting a lot of ideas. Thanks to the deck, but I can definitely just take away the Akroki, but I can definitely understand because it's a pop, so it can still work here and there. But having Dominus Purge, though, well, they are all lights. Everyone's a light. Nearly everyone is a light. But it does shut down your hand traps, so A lot of your haymakers are light monsters anyway, so yeah, I can definitely understand the stuff that's in this deck. Ooh. All right, this is giving me an idea or two to basically where to take my deck. I might actually just finally give the Sulfur version a try, and I can understand why both Purulia and Fawalas here are one apiece because it's just a cross-out designator board. Alright. Well, after a loss against a deck that has been nerfed, it feels slightly deflating, but hey, that's just the nature of card games here. And it did give me a lesson or two, especially with this deck in particular because I love playing Yummy. It's just a cutesy archetype, and it got even cuter when it got the Sulfur girls involved in the mix. And good God, Sulfur Happiness is just an insane card. You read it, and then you realize that it basically belongs to a bad deck, and then suddenly you find it finds synergies in the least expected of places. And it's insane how Yu-Gi-Oh players are like that. But yeah, we're gonna end it here, and I actually don't want to record for too long because it's quite hot, even with the air conditionings. With Radiant Typhoon, it's still honestly pretty good. We just ran into some opponents that are unfortunately better than us. That's just the nature of my luck around these parts. So yeah, if you guys like what you saw, hit like, comment, subscribe, and share this among your friends. And until next time, toodles.